This one, I like this one. I like this story a lot. It was an email that I received today. Now, here's what's going on. The Episcopal Church in the United States is, they're challenging the federal government on how ICE is operating with and at faith-based organizations. So the Episcopal Church and 27 other faith-based organizations have interfaith partners, they're called, are challenging Trump's ICE enforcement actions in court. They've come together to launch this challenge. And it's really cool. So you all remember Bishop Buddy a few weeks ago asked Trump to be merciful. Well, since then, the Episcopal Church's migrant organization has actually had to, I think they even laid people off because funding dried up. But now there's some crazy stuff happening, and it's getting in the way of the practice of their First Amendment right to religion. So one of the things it says, so this came from the Episcopal News Service, which is great, by the way. You can go and subscribe to it. It's fantastic. It really is. Anyway, it says the plaintiffs, so these 28 faith-based organizations, the plaintiff's 80-page complaint includes short summaries of ways the government's policies have burdened the faith organizations' practice of their religions. The Episcopal Church's summary includes the following examples, which do not give specific locations of congregational names. Local officials, one of the things is, the first thing, local officials parked outside one Episcopal church during past enforcement efforts and attempted to arrest undocumented congregants leaving the church. The second, at another point, at another congregation, federal agents already have appeared outside its food pantry, photographing those in line. In one Episcopal diocese, some congregants were reluctant to join an informal Zoom call with an immigration attorney. Some congregations have stationed members at their doors to watch for immigration officials. The Episcopal Church is one of 12 denomination bodies that have signed on to the lawsuit, which also includes Disciples of Christ, Mennonite, Methodist, Presbyterian, AME Zion churches. Other plaintiffs include regional denominational bodies and other religious associations. So, the bottom line is the Episcopal Church feels like ICE's enforcement initiatives, policies, are getting in the way of their First Amendment right to practice their religion. And it makes sense. I mean, can you imagine? Imagine you're at a food pantry and somebody's taking your picture. Well, why are they taking my picture? Because you might be what they deem to be a criminal. No law's been broken. They're taking your picture because you are a suspect. You are a suspect. You're in that line at that church. You're a suspect. Maybe you have the right complexion, and so you're a suspect. You could have been born in this country, but you're a suspect simply because you have a certain look, simply because you speak a certain language, simply because, right? Because you're at this food pantry. Those people coming out of church, ICE is approaching people as they come out of church to determine whether or not they're there legally, to determine their legal status within the U. Why? Are they picking people like me? If I were to walk out of that church, would ICE come up to me and say, hey, do you have your papers? Probably not. Even if I was in the country illegally, they're probably not coming up to me and asking me for my papers, asking me for my visa, asking me for my passport, asking me for my ID, asking me for they're probably not talking to me at all. I'm probably walking right through. So it's only going to be a certain people. Now, those people, are they going to feel comfortable coming to church again? It violates their right. It violates their right to practice their religion. It violates the rest of the congregation's right to practice their religion freely. If you're waiting for somebody to come barging in through the doors, if you're waiting for one of your neighbors, one of your brothers or sisters in that church to be arrested outside, how is it that we can practice our religion in peace? Government's watching us. I mean, we've seen this before. Charlene earlier mentioned, maybe it's our time to go through this. We have seen this before in history. We've seen governments taking pictures of people who don't look a certain way. We've seen governments taking pictures of people to determine whether or not a crime has been committed. One of the things that I loved was something that the president of the House Deputies said. Welcoming the stranger, she says, is not a political act. It's a sacred obligation. Just let that sit in for a second. Welcoming the stranger is not a political act. It's a sacred obligation. Indeed, printed in those words that we call the Bible. It's a sacred obligation. Julia Harris goes on, when immigrants walk through our church doors, they're not entering as outsiders. They are stepping into the heart of our faith, where their dignity and stories are embraced as reflections of God's love. This lawsuit is about protecting our ability to live out the gospel without fear of interference, without fear or interference. Good for them. Good for them. Good on them. God bless them. We should be praying for the Episcopal Church. We should be praying for the Episcopal Church. They're standing up. They're standing up for their sacred responsibility, for their sacred duty. One of the practice of our faith is to welcome the stranger. One of the practices of our faith is to take care of the stranger. One of the practices of our faith is to show the kind of hospitality to a stranger that we'd show to a family member. And what they're saying is ICE is getting in the way of this. We're not able to meet the needs of our family. We're not able to meet to be there for our family. Our family isn't able to come and worship with us because of what ICE is doing. Our brothers and sisters are not able to come and worship with us. They are not able to come and to be provided for. They're not able to come and to provide for others. They're not able to come and share their experiences and their stories. They're not able to come and share their lives, share their time, to break bread with us, their brothers and sisters. At the end of the day, this is where we need to get. Like it's in that statement from Ms. Harris that's where we need to get. These people who are coming into our churches, they're not strangers. They're not people coming from the outside. They are our brothers and sisters. As we are all brothers and sisters, they are our brothers and sisters. We are all one. We are all one in the same. In this faith of ours, we are all together. We are family. We are loving family, caring family, providing family, nurturing family. We are the kind of family, we are there for one another family. That's who we are. No one who comes into these buildings, no one who comes into our churches, no one who comes into our chat, no one, regardless of where they come from, regardless of what they believe, no one, regardless of what language they speak or their country of origin, nobody is a stranger. They become our family. It is the practice of our faith. It is our First Amendment. Well, it's your First Amendment right. It's my Charter of Rights and Freedoms right. Constitutional here in Canada right to see everyone as my brother and sister and to take care of them, to gather with them, to worship with them, to feed them, to provide for them. And if ICE or a Canadian agency, we don't have a Canadian agency like them, if they get in the way of that, they are violating. They're violating my religious right. God bless the Episcopal Church. God bless them in this challenge. I pray that they will be successful. I pray that this president, President Trump, who has decided he's going to stand up. Remember, we talked about this the other day. I'm going to stand up and I'm going to protect the religious rights of people. I'm going to protect I'm going to protect Christians from anti-Christian bias, from anti-Christian action, from anti-Christian reactions and responses. I'm going to protect them from any anti-Christian evil source that may try to take away their ability to be Christian. I pray Trump will sign off on this and say, no, you know what? They're right. It is their religious right to do this. They are, in taking care of one another, they are worshiping God as Jesus calls us to worship. I pray he'll protect those Christian churches, those faith-based organizations, that he'll side with them as they stand up and challenge these policies. Amen.